Tuesday, Donald J. Trump won the US presidential election. And some of my friends in the centre-right and centre-sensible, we call it, were absolutely jubilant. They were over the moon. And everyone said to me, you don't seem as happy about these things. And the one thing I would say though is I was pleased he won. Just to look at racist David Lammy's face. It says everything about a country when they've got a race baiter like Lammy as the Foreign Secretary. Oh! Who should we get as Foreign Secretary? Let's get a guy who doesn't appear to like white people. Yeah, come on, get him in. Get him in. Send him to other places where there are white people and get him to call them members of the KKK. Get him to call them Nazis. It'll be great. What an envoy for your country. And yesterday, you could see his face had dropped from the penthouse suite to the basement. Oh, whatever else Trump does or doesn't do, it was worth him winning just to see Lammy's face. And that hypocrite Starmer, people saying, oh, he's licking Trump's behind. Yeah. Well, would you expect anything else from Starmer? Would you? No. The guy's a liar, a hypocrite. To me, he's a criminal. So I didn't expect anything else. So well done, Donald J, just for their two faces yesterday. In a world that's getting worse by the day, that was a little bit of light. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy the Democrats didn't get in, because like the Socialist Workers' Party over here, they seem batshit crazy. You know, the trans ideology being pushed in schools, so now we're getting fashionable trans. We've got school kids identifying as cats. I would say that's fine, but what you've got to do at lunchtime, we're going to feed you whiskers. Get down on your knees on the floor and eat your whiskers. And if you want to go to the toilet, you can't use the boys or the girls. There's a lit tray there. You won't have any pants on, will you? Because you'll be naked, because cats are naked. So get down there and have a Tommy tit in that cat tray. If people are acting like loonies or acting up, treat them like loonies. Treat them like what they actually think they are. Unless they think they're a woman. They've got the full meat and veg and they wanting to use women's private spaces. So that's an exemption. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's getting really, really crazy under left-wing lunatics. Far left lunatics. So I was pleased that they didn't get in. But Donald J. Trump, right, last time he ran for election, he made all sorts of promises. He was going to release Julian Assange within minutes of taking the Oval Office. Did he? No. He was going to prosecute Hillary Clinton. Remember the issue of her using a private email address for emails containing state secrets? He was going to prosecute her for that. She was a nasty woman. But afterwards, after he became president, he said, oh, the country owes her a debt of gratitude. Hillary Clinton, a demon in a woman's body, practically. So I don't tend to believe an awful lot of what he says. In July 2016, he was going to ditch NATO. We're leaving NATO. If I'm president, we're leaving NATO. Did he leave NATO? No, he didn't. In fact, after a meeting at the White House in, I think it was 2018, he endorsed NATO. He threatened to cut American funding to NATO if the NATO allies didn't up their contribution into it, but at the end of the day, nothing ever happened. He said NATO was obsolete, and after that meeting, they were no longer obsolete. He was going to commit to 1.5 trillion rebuilding the infrastructure of the United States. Did it happen? No, it didn't. When he came into office last time, there was 11.3 million illegal immigrants in the country. Prior to becoming president, he was going to deport them all. Do you know how many he actually deported? 263,000, which was less than the Obama administration. In 2012, they deported 404,000 people who had entered the country illegally. So I couldn't get excited. He was going to build a wall on the border of Mexico at the cost of £21.5 billion and rising. Did he build it? No. What he did, he put $5 billion into basically a border that was already there, and he actually built 3 new miles of the wall, which is all right if you get really compliant illegal immigrants and you say, do us a favour, if you are going to try and enter the country, you couldn't try and do it within that 3 miles, could you? It'd help us out with our election promises. Didn't happen. He was going to get the national debt down from $19 trillion. Did it happen? No, it went up under his leadership to $27 trillion. Which doesn't totally surprise me. He's been bankrupt 4 times, but you'd think he'd have economic advisors around him who would cut the mustard for him. So I can't get that excited. I think he's controlled opposition. Oh, but they tried to kill him, did they? It looks like they sent Mr. Magoo, who shot someone else, and managed to shoot his ear. And if Donald J. Trump has proved anything, he's got amazing healing powers. So if he can take that sort of gift into the presidency this time, then maybe he'll do some of the things that he said he'd do. Still worth watching David Lammy squirming though. So I was pleased Trump got in, just to see Lammy's face, just to see Starmer's face, who'd sent 100 Labour supporters over to help Kamala Harris. Starmer must be cringing. Unless, of course, Donald J is the controlled opposition I think he is, in which case it's not going to matter. Starmer's going to know. Lammy might not. I don't think Lammy knows what day it is, to be honest. If he's not making racist statements, he might as well stay in bed. Then you've got the COVID medical intervention that Trump supported and Nigel Farage supported. He wanted Tony Blair, yes, war criminal Tony Blair, to come and be the medical intervention czar.
Much as I don't like Tony Blair, he does get things done. He does command respect. He is seriously bright. Why not get people like Tony Blair involved to help us solve a national crisis? We have got, absolutely got, to up the pace of vaccinations.
We're looking now, and obviously the medical intervention for the purposes of YouTube and other media has no adverse effects whatsoever. It's absolutely champion. But purely coincidentally, at the time of this medical intervention, excess deaths started rising alarmingly all over the world, particularly in those places where there was a high uptake of a certain medical intervention. Nothing to do with it though, nothing to do with it, but just pure coincidence. Myocarditis, heart attacks, deaths from other parts of the body, turbo cancers, pure coincidence. Nothing to do with the fact that there was a medical intervention, just pure coincidence. So maybe Donald and Farage were trying to do us a favour. Maybe. I'll leave that for you to work out. And I would say that if Trump lets the people down, there is going to be an almighty backlash. And so I wouldn't be shocked if there's a false flag event, like another massive school shooting or whatever, in order to take American guns away. Because I think if people like Trump are controlled opposition and they do let the people down this time, people will have had enough. People will say, no more, no more. a bit like a lot of Brits are doing now under Starmer's tyrannical Labour government, having put up with a useless bunch of Tories for 14 years. People are saying enough. How they didn't cotton on before the last election, I don't know, but I think critical thinking has gone out of the window. I'm a conspiracy theorist because I worried about a certain medical intervention that was produced in next to no time by pharmaceutical companies who have been fined more than any other pharmaceutical companies in history for telling porcupines on certain of their products. Fact. So I worried about that. So I was a conspiracy theorist. I worry about the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, wanting to introduce digital ID. I worry about the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, indoctrinating the banks, wanting to take cash away and introducing digital currency. I worry because they can stop that currency at any time. I worry about smart meters in your house because if this mad drive for net zero that an awful lot of scientists say is absolute BS is pursued much further, we are going to have power cuts. Fact. The national grid are going to rely on renewables, and there's no wind and there's no sun, and we haven't got the capacity to store the energy that is generated, and we just cut fossil fuels out straight away. Every expert that I've spoken to personally says the grid's not going to cope. Energy prices are just going to shoot up, so people are freezing in their homes, and there's going to be blackouts. If you've got a smart meter and this energy rationing by stealth, because we're not putting the heating on as much, most normal people, most working class people aren't using the heating as much, can't afford to. So we're being rationed by stealth. But if that doesn't work, the smart meters can just be cut out. They can just stop your supply like that. So I'm a conspiracy theorist, even though the engineers say that's a possibility. Electric cars, they can be stopped. So if they introduce 15-minute cities, which is on the WEF agenda, they can stop your car. So I'm a conspiracy theorist. I look up in the skies, I see loads and loads of exhaust fumes from planes, chemtrails, whatever. But I've looked and watched them merge into clouds. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think there's Geo-Engineering going on. When the Twin Towers went down, that looked like controlled demolitions, especially World Trade Center 7 that went down behind them, apparently because of fires. Not hit by a plane. I'm a conspiracy theorist. All the evidence against Jeb Bush disappeared. Trillions of pounds of gold disappeared during those Twin Towers. And no one who had shares in those buildings lost out because the insurance had been increased just prior to their demolition. Now, people say to me, why are you such a conspiracy theorist? Because, unfortunately, I've got eyes and I see stuff and I think to myself, what's going on here? During COVID, a respiratory virus, doesn't matter if it's been tampered with in a laboratory, doesn't matter if it comes from a bat, it's a respiratory virus. Now, I don't know about you, but colds and flu. I've sat on a bus, someone sneezed at the back, and apparently that spreads down the whole bus. So why, when you go into a shop, do they put a little plastic screen up and say, oh, happy days? I don't know. Why can't you go out in the open air? Sit on a bench. It was balmy. Oh, you can have 6 people around your house, but not 7. When I saw people who weren't being allowed to go to parents' funerals and they were putting up with it, I just couldn't get me head round it. When I saw people out on a Thursday night like a load of trained seals clapping for the NHS, I thought this is just indoctrination. This is a control exercise. It's nothing about a respiratory virus. That's what I saw with my own eyes. So I can't help it. I see stuff, I think, and I come to a conclusion. I'm not saying it's always right, but that's how I get there. And that's what I see with Trump. And I hope, I pray that I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. But I hope and I pray that I'm wrong. Big friends with Nigel Farage. Well, yeah, but Farage runs a party. Well, he doesn't run a party, actually, he still runs a business that has funding from hedge fund managers who had their company partly started with finance from George Soros and other WF-linked funders. The same people who funded the Tory party. So why do people, I'd love to know, why do people think that that party is going to be so different? I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Farage has said now that he doesn't agree with mass deportation for illegal, and the clue's in the word illegal, undocumented people. Of course he is. It's all part of the plan. You need controlled opposition. If they weren't controlled opposition, you wouldn't know about them because they wouldn't be getting any airtime in the mainstream media. And one thing about our Nige, he certainly gets that. And I think Trump's the same, I really do. The only good thing I would say out of it is that Robert Kennedy Jr., who again, he's gonna be compromised, but he says he's going to go for Big Pharma. I'm sure he'll have an assassination attempt on his life if he's the real deal. All the elites have got their money in Big Pharma, which is why medical interventions are pushed. They don't want you to eat healthily, exercise. They want you to take a pill. Starmer the other week, oh, if you're on benefits, I'm thinking about bringing in mandatory medication to make you thin. What that drug actually does is attack the body, takes away muscle as well as fat, but it's a medical intervention for your own good. Let's go out on Thursday night and clap for the scientists that made it. Let's clap. Let's clap the TikTok dancers at the NHS who are doing such a good job injecting the people with these mandatory vaccines. Oh, I don't understand it. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all you are so excited about Donald J. Trump being elected are right, and I really hope I'm wrong, and I hope he goes for the WEF, and I hope he does everything he says he's going to do in the next 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. I really hope so, for everyone's sake, mine included. I don't mind being wrong if the world as a whole is a better place. Okay, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Give me your feedback. No need to be abusive. That's a sort of far left thing, isn't it? Let's talk like adults. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I look forward to reading your comments. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye for now.